A warm welcome to our guests tuning in for our first ever live webinar for Moomoo Malaysia. Selamat datang semua. Terima kasih kerana berada di sini bersama kami untuk live pertama ini. We're live from Moomoo, whether it's in-app or on YouTube, and this is for Moomoo Malaysia. So welcome, Moomoo Malaysia. I'm your host, Olivia Higgins, and while we wait for a few more people to join us, here's a video crafted and created just for you. Enjoy. Once again, selamat datang Moomoo Malaysia. You're with me, your host, Olivia Higgins, for today. Now, I'd like to remind you that today is all about education, okay? So we're learning together. This is the first live webinar, and it is the bridge to experts that we have for you. We're so excited what we're about to learn today about ETFs so that overall we can guide you in making better investment decisions. So really today, network with the community. I know a lot of you have your own thoughts, have your own questions. So in the chat box, wherever you're tuning in from, whether it's on YouTube or in app, type in your questions and you'll stand a chance to win some point giveaways for the ones tuning in directly from Malaysia, and also perhaps some surprise quiz questions, but you'll definitely have to pay attention and stay till the end of the live webinar, okay? So we're actually giving away grab vouchers. So definitely pay attention because it will be inserted as a surprise throughout the entire live. Now be ready to learn, everyone, and let's hop right in. Today's topic, it's being an agile investor using ETFs. And for those of you who are new to this space, ETFs refer to the exchange traded funds. And today we're going to learn all about it and what agility means and how you can build your portfolio to start off with. Today with me from Bursa Malaysia, we have Shyu, who is the SVP of Product Development, Origination and Listing. Next, we have Chong, who is the head of ETF and ESG Investment, i-VCAP Management, and of course, Zeff, who is the Chief Trainer and Equity Researcher of Sharix.my. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Welcome to the first live show from Moomoo Malaysia. Now, tell us more about yourself and also the objective of today. We're talking about being an agile investor. Now, what does that mean? And also a quick introduction. Let's start with you, Shyu.
Hi everyone. I'm Shyu from Bursa. I'm part of the product and market development team here. ETF is a key focus for Bursa. My team works closely with the industry to grow the market, create a conducive ecosystem for ETF, and engage and educate investors on ETF. Happy to be here today to share a bit about ETF and hope you enjoy it.
So glad to have you on this show, Shyu. Now, what about you, Ong?
Hi, very good Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks, Olivia, and thanks, Moomoo, for having us today. It's really my pleasure to be here today to share with everyone about what ETF is and how we can use ETF in our portfolio. My name is Ong. I am the head of ETF of i-VCAP. We are the fully owned subsidiaries of Kenanga Investor Group.
Perfect. And of course, Zeff, what about yourself?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Zeff. I have 10 years of experience in investing in Bursa Malaysia, and currently I am the chief trainer and equity researcher from Sharix.my. So being an educator, I'm very glad to be invited as one of the panelists to give all of the audience to share about how to become an agile investor with ETF investing in Malaysia. So today I believe that there will be a lot of interesting subtopics that will be shared by us, and I hope you guys will be enjoy learning today. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. What a great way to start. Now, first question for you guys, what does it mean to be an agile investor? When we talk about agility, it's about, being on the top of everything, right? Being fast speed, being able to really adjust and adapt as quick as possible, especially with current market times. Now, what does this mean? I'm throwing this question to the floor.
Well, maybe I'll start. For an investors in Malaysia, I think most are very familiar with trading in stocks. They are familiar with the typical fixed deposits, buying properties. But we are hoping that through this session today, you can actually learn how to actually use ETF as part of the investment portfolio. And as an agile investor, you can then see the benefits of having ETF in your portfolio.
Anyone would like to add anything to that?
Sure. Yeah. So, Jeff, go ahead.
Oh,
Zeff?
okay. So, to me, to be an agile investor means to be flexible. So just not only to stick with investing in individual stocks, to consider also ETF as part of our enhancement to our portfolio. So I would say throughout my experience as an educator in this field, I would say a ratio of about near to 90% of the local market retail participants are not really familiar with what ETF really is. So in fact, a lot of people have heard about it, but do not have experience in investing or buying or even trading an ETF. So I would say today's sessions will teach us what really ETF is and how to be agile, especially in switching our capitals in managing the so that our portfolio can achieve a better performance in the future.
Now, Ong, based on your introduction just now, for the retail investors, right? What does agility then mean for them? Ong?
So yeah, so probably agility for them means that, how do they really use this product or investment tools that is very robust, and it has been very popular in most of the emerging countries like US, Taiwan, and so on, but is less common in Malaysia. But this product, ladies and gentlemen, be rest assured that, in the next 1 hour session, you will learn more from all the speakers here that, how this product can help you in your positioning your portfolios and, managing your returns as well as your risk.
Absolutely, Ong. Now, next question, Shyu. How familiar then are Malaysian investors with the ETF space?
Thank you, Olivia. We actually currently have 16 ETF listed on Bursa. The first was actually listed back in 2005. That's the ABF Malaysia Bond Index ETF. So we have had ETF for almost 18 years now. I would say a big proportion of Malaysians have heard of ETF, but their understanding of how it works, that is still low. So to that end, Bursa conducts various marketing and education activities over the years to engage and educate investors. We also do annual surveys to help us understand our investors' experience and their journey when investing in ETF. Olivia, let me share with you some of the findings in the latest survey we did back in May this year. In slide 3, we do ask in the questionnaire for the respondents, have they heard about ETF before? Have you traded ETF listed in Bursa before? And how many did not trade ETF because they are not familiar with ETF? On slide 4, this is the findings from the survey, and what we have seen is that 73% of respondents have actually heard about ETF, but 87% have never traded ETF listed on Bursa. So that makes it only 13% of the respondents have actually traded ETF here. And 69% of those that did not trade ETF said that they didn't because they are not familiar with ETF. So that actually then comes to the question, there is much work still need to be done to increase the awareness level, and I hope we can do a bit of that today.
Thanks for that. So in terms of the ETF as an instrument, how exactly does that work? Ong?
Yeah. So, from the statistics that Shyu shared just now, that seems like, more than 70-80% of the investors are not really heard of what ETF is. So for the benefit of the beginners, maybe I just give a brief explanation on what ETF is and how does it work. So I would always like to refer ETF by using unit trust fund and also shares, because because of unit trust fund is something that everybody are quite familiar with in Malaysia. So I will always imagine or describe ETF as a hybrid of a unit trust fund and a listed shares. So it shares some common features of a unit trust fund, such as it is an investment fund, or in the typical term we call it as a CIS, collective investment scheme, that typically will be a pool of investment or a basket of securities and in an investment fund, and it will charge management fees, of course, just like how unit trust fund is, and it is professionally managed. So this is the features that similar to unit trust fund. And on the other hand, it has the features of listed shares, whereby the ETF fund is listed on Bursa Malaysia or any other exchanges, and it is very easy to invest. It's just as easy as how you buy or sell a shares through an exchange, and the settlements and all that are similar T+2 in Malaysia. So in short, we can think that ETF is a listed unit trust fund. That is how I always explain how ETF works.
Thanks for really clarifying that and defining that for our audience members out there. But before I go to you, Zeff, for the next question, now, Shyu, perhaps just for those new investors tuning in, can we really go into the DNA of what an ETF is? Do you have any, sort of visuals or sharing slides to help our audience follow through with this?
Sure. On slide 8, this is on a very, very high level. What an ETF is for investors. As investors, when you invest in ETF, what you literally does is you pool your investment with fellow investors in that same ETF, and the fund manager will, upon receiving the money, will invest the investments based on the investment objective of the ETF. And typically for an exchange traded fund, the investment objective is to track the index, and therefore the index is important. The index will then tell you what is the assets that the ETF invests in, may be equities, bonds, commodities, or REITs. So this is, in a way, then allowing investors to gain exposure to the various asset class through this simple investment that is ETF.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. Now, Zeff, the next question is for you as an educator in this space, what you deal with and what you teach out there to start off their journey for ETFs. What would you say is that, key point for you to, start going into the fundamentals of ETFs? How can someone start within this space?
Okay. According to my experience, like what I mentioned in the beginning of this discussion, so I would say nearly 9 out of 10 of the market participants are the retail investors. They are not really familiar with what ETF is. I often receive questions asking about me, but mostly they ask about ETFs, traded in local markets, local markets and also foreign markets, particularly those traded in US markets. But I could see a lot of people, they are starting to gain interest in it, but they don't really have a financial literacy in understanding what is actually an ETF. Like, to what my understanding is, most of the investors, they are having a stereotype such as safe, slow, and steady towards an ETF. But to me, this doesn't mean that safe, slow, and steady cannot bring us to make fortune in investment. As of what I understand, apart from paying lower management fees, diversification is also one of the significant advantage of investing in ETF. So today's sessions, I would say, is the fundamental of how we are going to start to invest in ETF. First, by understanding what ETF really is, and also what it represents, and through what platforms that we can use to invest in ETF. This is very important because most of the people, they see, okay, if I want to buy individual stocks, I just key in the stock code or stock number, then I key in the buying units, then I press buy with the passwords, then I can buy it. But how about ETF? A lot of people, they dare not to press even the buttons, ETF. So I believe after today's discussion, a lot of people, which they are actually interested in investing in ETF, they will gain knowledge and hence to venture into this ETF market.
Thank you for that. Now I'm going to stop everyone here before the next question for our guest for our surprise quiz for you. Okay, so if you're ready for this question, type in yes in the chat box right now. Type in yes if you're ready for the first question and giveaway. So here's how it works, okay? Fastest fingers first. You've got to get the right answer to the question, and we're going to choose 3 users to receive a Grab voucher worth 10 ringgit, okay? So we're going to just give away something just for you, for being here with us, for rewarding you as well for being here on the live, the first live for Moomoo Malaysia. So are you ready? Type in yes. Okay, the question is, what does ETF stand for? What does ETF stand for? You guys are really quick, which is great. Okay, looks like we have our winners. Our team will be in touch after the live once they've picked the right ones and also the fastest fingers first. Now, Shyu, what does ETF stand for?
It's exchange traded fund.
Perfect. Congratulations to the winners. Now, back to the fireside chat. Now, the next question I have for our experts today, is it true that the ETF liquidity in Malaysia is poor? And what should investors be aware of when they consider, using these ETFs in the light of these potential liquidity issues or common, perceptions or misconceptions that we'd like to clarify over here? Ong?
Sure. Yeah. So as what I have mentioned earlier, that the ETF market in Malaysia are not as robust as other advanced countries like US and Taiwan, Singapore, and all that. And some of the more often than not that I have received the questions from the investors is there the liquidity are really low? And, some of the ETFs that I see on the exchange, like, the traded volume are very low. And also some of the ETF may not even have, volume for past 1 or 2 days. And is that really that bad? And, what are the risks if I were to invest it, and if I'm not able to sell, or if when I want to invest, will I be able to buy the ETF that I would like to? So these are valid questions, but let me assure you of something, that in ETF is quite different from other listed shares. In other listed shares, when you see there is no volume, it simply means that there is no bid and offer, from the market. But in Malaysia, each and every ETF will need to appoint market maker. So what does this market maker do is that the market maker, the presence of market maker, they will put up a bid and also ask, meaning which they were on both sides of the market on every day, on daily basis. So if you notice that you are able to go to any ETF that you would like to buy or sell, if you go to the market, even there is no traded volume, if you go there, you will notice that you will see the RQ of in both sides of bid and offer. So therefore, you do not need to worry that if you wish to sell or you wish to buy, you won't be able to get the volume because there is no offer or there is no bid. No, you will not have this problem simply because of the market maker's presence are always there.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for clarifying that. Now, Zeff, I like to extend this question slightly, based on the people that you work with, what are some of the potential concerns and possible solutions that they can use the ETFs for in their current strategy?
I would say most of the investors, their concern is that they do not really know what the ETF itself is. Okay, so now I assume that many of the investors, they are understanding what an ETF really is. But how about the underlying assets behind the particular ETF? So I think a lot of people, they may be facing some challenges. For example, to search for the fact sheet or to search for the backgrounds of the particular ETF. I think this is the part maybe all of us may come together and to work hard together so that to bring up better transparency, so that a lot of retail investors, they will first have the ability, or they know the ways how to find back this the information of the particular ETF. I think a lot of efforts in the future can be done. Okay, and I think after the investors they have fundamental understand of what the ETF really is. For example, ETF ABC. So the underlying ETF, the underlying assets is Bursa Malaysia's KLCI index. Then they would know the ETFs, their constituents, okay, the stocks that they are tracking. So they will be feeling much better, and to invest into it. This is the major challenges that I think most of the retail investors, they are facing right now.
And you mentioned earlier also that literacy component, right? And that's why we're going for that push for even shows like this to really educate the audience about the instrument, and also to give them more confidence, right? To implement that possibly into their strategy. So thank you for highlighting that. Now, the next question, I know that Shyu will go perhaps into more detail later on about Bursa and also what they can look out for. But I do want to go back into ETFs as an instrument, and also the topic of today about agility and being an agile investor. Now, the next question is, what are some of these strengths and potential benefits that we could look forward to in using ETFs in the starting of investment journeys? Shyu?
All right, thanks, Olivia. Okay, now for an investor, if you are directly investing in stocks, the question is which stocks to buy. And for a regular investor who are not perhaps a full-time investor or professional investors, the time and resources to actually go out there, do a research on a particular stock, then monitor the stocks, your investment portfolio, can be a bit daunting now. But if you are actually have a positive view on a particular market, that may be the Malaysian market or the US market or the China market, you can actually just invest in the ETF, where it will provide you a broad exposure to the market. And if the market do perform well, then your investment will do well. Now, what the ETF then does is that you do not need to actually know the individual companies in detail. You actually can take a view on the market, and the ETF fund manager will do the job by investing and allocating into those companies that is represented in that index.
Thanks for that. Now, Ong, what do you think?
Yeah, if I may lead know the audience to slide number 9. So I would like to share a little bit on the benefit of investing in ETF. Actually, there are a lot of, because they are generally the awareness of the awareness about ETF is not that much compared to other countries. So let me just go down a little bit in depth to share what are the benefits of an ETF investing. So like what Shyu has shared just now, that ETF is an index tracking fund. So what does that mean is that you just need to know the objective or the markets that you would like to invest in. Like, for example, if I am confident in Malaysia's market, so I will go for the FBM KLCI ETF, whereby I will have the performance of the whole FBM KLCI market. If I am very positive about the US market, so I can go to the this, what do we call, US 50 ETF, whereby the ETF track the top 50 US trading listed stocks. So by that, you do not need to really go into detail of stock picking and monitoring. And the second benefits that I wish to share is what Zeff has brought up just now. This is about the transparency of the transparency of that the investors can get. For your information, all the ETF that is listed in Malaysia will need to publish their holdings, all their holdings on daily basis through the Bursa Malaysia's website. So any investors that invest in the ETF or interested to know what are the constituents of the funds of the ETF can go to the Bursa website that you can see on daily basis what are the constituents and the weighting in each of the ETF. As opposed to, if you invest into some unit trust fund whereby you will only know like your top 5 or top 10 holdings, and you may not know whether the component of it, suitable for your investment objective and your risk tolerance level. And some other benefits that I wish to share, of course, is because it's a pool of funds and it is, you can get instant diversification by investing in one single instruments. You can get diversification of probably 50 or 30 or 100 stocks in one single instruments that you invest in, and it is very easy access. You just need to have a CDS account and you sign up to any broking or investment platform like Moomoo, and you will be able to invest. And also it is very low cost. So in low cost, it is defined as low cost in terms of management fee, because compared to unit trust fund, ETF typically charge much lower fees of below 1%. Generally only 0.6, 0.4 to 0.6%. For most of the ETF that are listed in Malaysia. And also, imagine if you need to have a portfolio of 30 stocks, how much capital you will need to fork out, right? But when you invest in ETF, you can buy just 100 share, 100 unit of ETF, which maybe cost you a few hundred ringgit, and you will have diversification. You will have all the investment portfolio in there. So this is really the benefit of having an ETF as an investment tools.
Right. Now, Zeff, do you have anything to summarize based on this point before we move on to the next question?
I would say to diversify out of our portfolios is very important. Throughout my career, I have seen some of the investors, they put too much of focus into one single stocks, and they end up stepping on the landmines, and they get themselves, not to say get themselves killed, but they lost a lot of money. And for some of the investors, they do not really have the ability to shortlist stocks and to buy in at a very good price. So they are not really that type of sensitive investors that they could time the market to buy and sell. Right. I would say based on the benefits that mentioned by Ong just now, it is actually advisable for a lot of investors to consider to enhance their portfolio with inclusion of ETF in their investments. Just what a lot of people are saying, that do not put all eggs into a single basket, just to diversify our risk, because the key to be successful in investment is not only to talk about how much money you can make, but it's to talk about how much risk that you can manage. I think that one is very important.
I think the risk management component is so important, and I think we can extend further as we wrap up, because we're getting a lot of questions coming in. So thank you, everyone. Keep those questions coming, because I'm tracking them, and I'm going to pick the questions for our guest experts today. Okay, so next question for the intermediate investor, because we covered the basics and the fundamentals, but if we're looking for the intermediate or the more advanced investor, how can they really use ETFs to complement their current portfolio, especially right now with the macroeconomic landscape that's ongoing? Shyu?
Okay. Now, for intermediate investors, we might be talking about perhaps institutional investors, or maybe even more seasoned investors. For such investors, they might say that I have the ability to actually do my own research. I have the ability to actually invest in the stocks directly. So why should I invest in ETF? Now, the truth is there is still a benefit of having ETF in your portfolio for not just the various points that Ong has mentioned just now, like diversification, reduction of cost, but it is also so that you feel that, let's say, you have a global portfolio and you have a location to perhaps only 5% to a particular market. It might not be worth the time and resources to do deep research into that market, but yet you might want to have the exposure to that particular market. You can do that with just ETF, and a single ETF will then provide you exposure to the broad market in that single market. For example, maybe Australia, Singapore, and that itself will then provide you a complete exposure to the target, to, let's say, your global portfolio, rather than just picking one or two stocks in that market.
Thanks for that. Now, an extender question to that, then, going beyond the intermediate investor, then looking at the instrument as a whole, are ETFs suitable for all types of investors, or what kind of, levels should they really play this field with? And, maybe let's prioritize, what kind of types of investors are particularly well suited for this type of investment. Ong?
Sure. Thanks, Olivia, for the question. This is a very interesting question, actually. So, to me, I would like to assume, or I would like to say that ETF is an instrument for most of the investors, most type of investors. So, typically, if someone who is interested in having exposure for just equity, just follow the broad market, then they will go for the equity ETF, which typically we have many, out there, and most of the listed ETF in Malaysia are actually equity based. Like what, some of the speakers have shared, and also myself, that if you are positive on Malaysia market, you can buy Malaysia broad market ETF. If you like to have a dividend income or dividend type of investors, while you want to have also the diversification, you can go for dividend ETF, which we have a few in listed on Bursa Malaysia. Whereas for other investors who would like to trade the volatility or the market movement, they can choose to invest in LNI, inverse and leverage ETF, whereby we have a few listed on Bursa as well. So for inverse and leverage ETF, it is very interesting. For leverage in ETF, it means that if you buy on the ETF, if the market go up 1%, you will be leveraged, or your return will be 2%. And likewise, if you have a very bearish view about the market, you think that market is going down, and how do you hedge yourself? Right, you can go for an inverse ETF as well. Inverse ETF is a tool whereby when market go down, you will make money. So it is actually suitable for many types of all types of investors, and it can include investors who wish to have exposure in commodity, as well as fixed income. Even fixed income you can have. So multiple market asset classes and strategy you can apply by using ETF as a tools. Yeah.
Thanks for that and comprehensive answer, especially for the different possibilities that they can explore for themselves. So the next question then is all about maximizing the potential returns, right? Because I think that's the question in everyone's minds. And of course, Zeff brought up about managing risk. So this question, talking about, again, current context, current market situation, how should investors then position themselves, with the ETFs to maximize first, their potential returns, but second, how can they really manage risks effectively? Let's start off with you, Zeff.
Okay, after listening to the sharings by Ong and Shyu, so I believe all of us knows that there are various types of ETFs. Some are based on equity, some are based on commodities and even bonds. So it is a tool for us to leverage. So to answer your questions, in this type of market situation, how can we maximize our portfolio performance with ETF? I would say dollar cost leveraging. This method suits me well. For example, if at this moment I know the market is doing badly, but at the same time I'm bullish on a long-term view for certain sectors, for example, semiconductor sectors. So I can actually go to invest part of my money, part of my capital into this semiconductor-related ETF. For example, one of the ETF that I am familiar in the US market is SOXL. For example, this is just an example. So the ETF tracks on Philadelphia Semiconductor Index. So it tracks at 3 times. So when the index moves up, so I can actually maximize my profits because the price of the ETF appreciates faster than the underlying index. So I would say to treat ETF like something like FD. So we just deposit some fixed amount of money into the ETF over a long period of time, then we get a better average cost, and this will very much reduce our risk, and this match what I mentioned just now, which is to manage the risk.
Ong, what do you think about this?
Yeah, so I would like to echo to what Zeff has shared just now, that in investment, nobody has a crystal ball. We don't know what will happen next, especially in this current uncertain economic background, and also capital market situation, whereby we have all the geopolitical uncertainties, wars, we have US, whereby everybody is guessing US next year will slow down or not, hard landing, soft landing, all kinds of noises.
Outcomes,
I
right?
would
Yeah.
like to say, outcome. So how do we actually really what should we, what our investment strategy should be? So in investing, there are two things that's very important. One is managing your return, and another one is managing your risk. Is really these two. So as what I have shared just now, that ETF is a investment fund that track broad market typically. So we all know that, if you look at the long history of equity markets, say in US S&P 500 for the past 80 years, 100 years, you will know that the return of the equity market in long run averagely is about 10% a year. 10% a year, we are talking about average. So in certain good years, you may have even up to 20%, but it is really a very respectable returns in long run. So I would like to echo on what Zeff has mentioned on the average dollar averaging cost method, whereby you consistently participate in the market over a long run. Down market may not means bad. If you consistently invest over a long period of time, say for example, every 3 months I will put a fixed amount to buy into an ETF which track a broad market, you will eventually, what you will get is your risk will be quite managed quite well, because you are not putting all your investment into a single stocks, whereby you are running a very huge risk, because you are tracking the whole market in long run, and therefore theoretically you will be able to get the broad market return in long run. And that will have, how do I say this? I always like to say this, investment that can make you sleep well, you can sleep well with your investment, that is a good investment. That simply means that your risk is well managed, and you can still see return from
you can
there.
sleep at night.
Yes.
Yes. I really like that. I mean, having that peace of mind is always important. I think that comes with experience, it comes with time, and also putting the plan B, C, D in place, right, to manage the risk effectively. Thank you, gentlemen, for highlighting that. Now, before we round up just the fireside chat, because I have so many questions coming in, I'm going to pick out a few. Keep them coming, guys. I'm still tracking it. Now, I just want to round up with the application of ETFs. Okay, so how can they access these ETFs that you were talking about? So the first question is, what are the ETFs listed on Bursa? Especially for the topic of today, where can we find more information on this? Shyu?
Thank you, Olivia. With respect to information, if I can refer to slide 13, I would just like to highlight at Bursa, we actually have many resources for you to learn about ETF. We have the Bursa Malaysia ETF page for basic information on ETF. We have the Bursa Digital Research page, where our internal research team provide monthly ETF performance report. Then there is the Bursa Marketplace ETF page, where you can see almost near real-time prices and trading volume. Here you can also find the research report on this ETF by independent research houses that you appoint. So you can actually have a lot of resources available to you from our website. Now, if you go to slide 14, in this slide, we also have this Bursa Academy, which is our investor education arm. There's extensive resources in our library available for free online, not just on ETF, but also on stocks and derivatives, among other things. I would encourage you to visit this website. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, the final question, does Bursa also run any other programs beyond that, and what can they look forward to on the horizon upcoming for the ETF space?
Yes, we do. On slide 15, we just concluded the ETF reward 2023 marketing campaign, which is a campaign focusing on retail investors. The investors just need to invest a minimum sum to stand a chance to win. There were 3 main prizes, which are fully paid holiday to Langkawi, Bali, and the last one was to Tokyo. So hopefully our audience today had a chance to participate in that. But don't worry if you missed that. There is actually still another ongoing campaign, the ETF Power Players Incentive Program. This campaign will run till 29th of December. And this campaign targets both retail investors and also professional investors. So there are 2 separate categories. There is monthly cash incentive ranging from 200 ringgit all the way up to 4,800 ringgit per month. Now, for details and term and condition, please visit our Bursa Marketplace website.
Sounds good. And just to clarify again, you talked about the stamp duty exemption. When is that granted until?
Yeah, okay. On slide 16, just to highlight, currently when you trade ETF, the stamp duty is exempted, and this waiver will be until 31st December 2025.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for that. Now to my favorite part and most exciting part of every live show, I'm picking your questions to ask our guests. So I'm going to open the first question to the floor. Anyone can take it. Thank you for your questions. First question, what would you say is the minimum amount to really start an investment in the ETF space?
Let me take this. I think the easy answer is actually as low as 100 ringgit. For you to actually buy an ETF, you just need to buy 1 lot of ETF, and assuming the ETF is 1 ringgit, the NAV price is 1 ringgit, then it is just 100 ringgit. So you can actually start investing journey in ETF with just 100 ringgit.
Thanks for that. Next question. Now, for the ETF space, talking about dividends and capital gains within the Malaysian context, are those subject to taxes? I mean, we already highlighted, the exemption part of it, but are there any additional factors to consider? Perhaps Shyu, you could take this, or Ong?
Okay. Yeah. So for in Malaysia, capital gain, there is no capital gain tax on investing in equity or shares. So all the gains it is what do you call it, is tax exempted, and as well as dividend from ETF also, or any other shares are generally tax exempted, unless your principal activities of your company or yourself, your main what your main make for living, you invest to make for a living, your principal activities or your business per se is deemed as investing, then you will need to pay tax. For general retail investors, there is no.
Thank you for that. Now the next question is coming from YouTube, and I'm also checking and tracking your questions on here. We've got good questions about the Malaysian market. Now, what would you say are the unique attributes and advantages that ETFs within the Malaysian market offers for, for a person that really looking at fostering a competitive edge within this space and looking to invest within the Malaysian market?
So if I may take that question. So the number of ETF that we see are not that a lot. We have 16 ETF listed in Bursa Malaysia, but as what we have shared earlier, that it is quite diverse. We have different geographical focus. We have, if you would like to have US focus dividend in Malaysia or ASEAN, and you can even have exposure in China. You can have exposure in leverage as well as inverse. You can have exposure to commodity, gold, and as well as fixed income, just by choosing from the ETF from the Malaysian market.
Okay, thank you for that. Now I'm going to pause here for our second surprise giveaway to everyone to reward you for being here with us. Now you've got to be an app and you've got to type in yes right now if you're ready for the second giveaway for today. We're going to choose 3 users who get it right and fastest fingers first as well to receive a Grab voucher from us. Are you ready? Type in yes. Okay. It's a true or false question. I hope you were listening before. Now, the stamp duty will be exempted for trading for ETFs and the waiver granted until 31st December 2025. True or false? Want to see those answers? Yes, we've got people already typing in. Okay, looks like we have our winners now. Shyu, what is the correct answer? Is it true or false?
Sorry, it is true. Sorry.
No problem. It's true. For those of you who got it right, congratulations. The teams will pick the winners and will contact you after the live, okay? For those based in Malaysia. Okay, let's pick the next question. Now, we've got someone on here who would like to know, as a newbie investor within the space, how can they even start? Where can they look for in terms of educational tools to really kickstart their own journey? Zeff, I think this is for you.
Thank you very much. Finally, it reached my turn. So I would say, first, to invest, to kickstart your investment journey in Bursa Malaysia or even foreign markets, you need to have a CDS account. So, for example, if you want to open a CDS account, so you can, for example, you can download Moomoo apps and install and register an account. So I'm sure maybe after a few months later, maybe after when the functions are online, then you can open your CDS account. And meanwhile, you can also search for the other alternatives. So that's the first important point, to get your accounts ready. Secondly, is to get your mind equipped with knowledge. So for example, if you want to know about what you want to invest, first you have to know about something, backgrounds about the economy, how the stock market works, and of course, how to key in your orders also. So for example, you can also find some good investment ideas and good informations from a few platforms such as Sharix.my, our company's website, and also the functions inside Moomoo apps. I think basically, after you have gone through a few of the tutorials inside Moomoo apps, I'm sure you can kickstart your investment journey. But in order to further advance yourself in the investment journey, lifelong learning is utmost important. Yeah, which means to keep update yourself with financial knowledge.
Such an important point right there, Zeff. Thank you for highlighting that. Now, the next question, perhaps Ong, you could take this. What are the differences between ETFs, mutual funds, and what is, a potential reason for an investor to choose an ETF over a mutual fund, for example?
Thanks for the question. So there is no right or wrong answer on either ETF is better or unit trust fund is better. It really depends on the individual investors' preference and their objective. So for unit trust fund, generally are suitable for investors who may require don't mind to pay fee and require services from their unit trust agent to service them, explain to them what are these things, and generally they will have they trusted the fund manager of the fund that they invest in, that they can maximize the profit, can manage the fund well for them. Whereas on the other hand, ETF will be suitable for investors who choose who can be more slightly on their own. You know, they know what they want. They know what are the market that they wish to invest in. US, Malaysia, China, ASEAN, or commodity or fixed income. Whereas that they know and they can invest and on their own with a very small fee, and they can choose what the allocation that they would like to have without without an agent or advisor that to advise them on that. So that is really make the difference. But of course, nothing comes free. So for unit trust fund, you will need to pay fee definitely.
Absolutely. Okay, so for those of you who are still typing your questions, keep them coming because I'm going to do a last question. But of course, we still have our final giveaway. So stay till the very end, okay, for the quiz question. Now, the next question is, you talked about liquidity at the beginning. Now, how can investors really leverage on the strengths of the Malaysian market to use ETFs to really strengthen their own portfolios? Perhaps Shyu or Zeff, would you like to take this?
Yeah, okay. Maybe I'll just try and attempt this question. Now, in terms of the Malaysian market, we actually have already, I think, about 4 ETF that's Malaysia focused. And on top of that, there's also the leverage and inverse ETF on TLCI that Ong has mentioned earlier. So there are ample tools in the ETF space for you to actually invest in, to express your view with respect to the Malaysian market. Now, the ability of the tools here, the ETF can provide you not just a plain vanilla exposure to a Malaysian market. So the leverage ETF is a good example, is when you take a very bullish view of the market, maybe in recent market development, you take the view that, okay, this is very positive. I think the Malaysian market will do well. You can actually invest in the leverage ETF, the leverage calcium ETF, that will give you 2 times the performance of the market, and that would actually be positive.
Good points there. And just to clarify, Shyu, how many ETFs are listed on Bursa Malaysia to date?
16.
16, 16. Perfect. Thanks for clarifying that. Now, Zeff, let's end off with you. If you have any additional thoughts before we go into the final giveaway and closing for today.
I think today's sessions is quite fruitful, especially for a lot of newcomers that wish to find alternative way in investment other than just buying into individual stocks. So to my own personal experience, I'm also opined that to have ETF included in your portfolio will get your portfolio enhanced in terms of the balance of the portfolio, so that you will be well managed in terms of risk. So I would think that in the future, mature investors should also consider to invest in some sorts of ETF. I think this is one of my good suggestions.
Thanks for rounding up the live Q&A, particularly for the Malaysian market on this, and of course to the rest for answering the questions on the burning questions from our users tuning in for Moomoo Malaysia. Thank you everyone for your questions. And so to reward you for staying till the end, here is your final giveaway. Now we will pick the 3 winners to give these vouchers to. It's Grab voucher worth 10 ringgit, and it's for you, just to reward you, something from us. Okay? So the question is, I'm only going to read it out if you type in yes in the chat box. You know the drill. Okay, so the question is, how many ETFs are listed on Bursa Malaysia? You have to give me the number. Total amount of ETFs listed on Bursa Malaysia. Let's go. Okay, looks like people are really quick with this. Perfect. I love the engagement here. Now, Shyu, of course, you do the honors.
There are 16 ETFs currently listed on Bursa Malaysia.
Congratulations to the winners, and the team will be in contact, okay? Now, gentlemen, what is your last takeaway for the audience for today's topic of being agile investors with the use of ETFs? Let's start with Zeff.
Okay. Personally, because I had previously I had experience in investing in ETF, myself, I've actually enjoyed the fruits of investing in ETF. So whenever someone asks me about ETF, I would encourage them to go and explore. So as what I mentioned just now, don't just stick yourself to investing in individual stocks, because to some investors, if they are not proficient enough in researching stocks, so there are chances that they might be stepping into landmines, especially in the stock market. So in order to mitigate the risk, I think ETF is one of the ideal tools for you to leverage in your portfolio. So I'm glad to be invited as a panelist today to share some of my experience and knowledge to all of you. And I hope that all of you will gain a certain level of knowledge today. And I wish you guys have a nice day.
Thank you. Ong, what about you?
Yeah, so for the past 1 hour of sharing, I believe our audience would have bring back some knowledge about ETF, and like what we have mentioned earlier, investment is a lifelong learning, and you know what is the best way of to learn how to invest or how to invest in ETF or using ETF? It is to start investing. Right. So, ladies and gentlemen, just, put some money there, of course, do your homework first, then put some money there. I'm sure you will learn much faster than, in any other ways, by putting your money in. So, happy investing.
Thank you for that. And of course, finally with you, Shyu.
Okay, thank you. I hope the audience have benefited from today's webinar. A take-home message is this: you can consider having ETF in your investment portfolio. Now, ETF can complement your other investments like shares and funds. Like all investment, please do your research and get to know more about ETF before investing. I would like to thank my fellow panelists for sharing their views and their insight today. And thank you, Moomoo, for organizing the webinar today.
Thank you so much. A great way to end off. We'll see you for the next show, gentlemen, and looking forward to the next one. To the audience, now, if you have any more questions, still drop those questions down there, because we're always looking for what you want to see next for the next show. Now, that was the first live show we had on the YouTube and in-app channels, but it's really not the last one you're ever going to see. It's the Kickstarter. And so we're going to have more and more content just for you. We're always tracking what you want to know. So leave us something in the chat box right here if you want to see more of such content or a part 2 of such a series. Okay, we really cannot wait to show you what we have in store for you in the coming months. And as we round up 2023 going to 2024, it's about taking what you learned from today and applying it into your own personal investment journey. For those of you who asked about the replay of this, you can definitely access this in-app or on our YouTube channel right after the live. You can also follow our pages in-app or our social pages just by scanning it right here, or even just looking up the names for the individual platforms. Okay, so definitely follow so you can keep track and stay on top of all the latest updates. And next up, just rounding off, we have a promotion just for you for the ETF space right here. If you want to apply what you learned from today, the perfect way to start as a new investor is always through paper trading. So definitely check out what you learned. And also from this KV right here, you can see the details on how you can apply, okay? And really see how you can leverage on such tools to help you towards the future as we go into the new year very, very soon. So as always, it's a pleasure to have you with us today. We'll see you for our next show. In the meantime, happy midweek. Terima kasih semua, and we will see you soon. Selamat malam once again. You're with me, Olivia Higgins. Happy investing.